Their heads are, every single pasture was filled with absolute nurturing. And I know it's a message because they're not always nurturing like that, but this particular day, I'm literally seeing sheep lips to lips. You know, I'm seeing all my creatures are showing me. God is like, this is what's missing. This touching, this feeling, this connection, this sense of protection. You know, that sense that there's somebody there for you in the storms. That's what family is for. And there's a lack of people in their families. I don't know what is it that why I'm reflecting and seeing this in the world when I have a major family and many pieces of people in my family, so I have people to go to shelter me from the storm, and I really can't imagine not having that. And so that, I guess, is my curiosity. And then I noticed that there's a brand new little sheep, where there's all these sheep. But it's winter, and I don't really remember seeing one being born, right? With this cold wind, and I'm thinking this little baby, tiny things, his hair looks still wet, and it's so cold outside, and I have almost a worried feeling, like, I don't know if they know that this one's been born out in the pasture. And I drop off my kids, and when I'm heading back, I see the entire herd all over that little baby, and it's like their body heat is there. They know instinctually that this isn't just mommy's job. This is all of our job, to protect this little, tiny, beautiful, precious being. So that visual that God gave me was so palpable and so touchable. It, you know, it was tears. It was to remember, my goodness, what happened? What happened to us cultivating extended family, not just in, maybe we didn't get the greatest parents or we didn't get the greatest siblings, but that whole idea that we choose our family too. How come we aren't holding on and building this braided fabric that we have the holidays to spend with, that we take time every week to be with other people and get out of our heads and just share our truth and be loved for our truth and love others for their truth? For a lot of people in 2019, it meant trying times. It was a tough year. I mean, when it came to New Year's, I saw so many posts of like, all right, see ya, 2019. Welcome, 2020. It was a lot of like, throw it away. That was a lot of fun. See ya. But we witnessed a lot of divisiveness. We fought with politicians. We are seeing more and more fragmentations in our own relationships with our family and our friends. And we realize that we're becoming more strangers with one another because of the fact that this social media, it's just taking all of the thisness out of all of it, right? And we almost like want to just go to a desert island where there is no Wi-Fi and remember what it was like to have that one central phone in the kitchen that the whole family heard the conversations. Remember that? One wire. There's no privacy. You're talking to your little new boyfriend at 12 years old, and like mom and dad are like, what? Your parents always knew what was going on because you couldn't go sit in your room and go into your world and be in the cyber world and learn about things that you shouldn't be learning about until the parent addresses the very heart of things, and that bond with mom and dad and kids is deeper because you have to have the tougher conversations because we have to actually engage. And I think a lot of our hope for 2020, perhaps it's remembering that as much as people around us can drive us crazy, that we are social beings. Just like animals are community beings, so are we. And we're forgetting that about each other, and we're fulfilling and we're kind of patching with these spaces. And you see people in coffee shops, like a cute couple. Like the other day I was at a coffee shop, this adorable young couple. They're all intertwined physically, but they're both still looking at their phones. Which I thought was better than just sitting across. It was cute to see that they're both like cuddling and playing with phones, but let's just throw the phone out for the coffee and let's have a little conversation about the week or something. So us being ultra-social species, our nervous systems are impacted by being around other people in a positive way. The center at the University of California, Berkeley tells us that, in short, according to biology, neuroscience, psychology, and more, our bodies actually tend to work better when we are around other people, not alone. And it's interesting. So being lonely has been linked to worse physical and emotional health outcomes and poorer well-being. Plus, a lack of social support can directly affect our potential for experiencing happiness. Explains who studies the biology of our emotions and thinking we are built to really seek social companionship and understanding. And yet we put so much more time into career, traveling and these major jobs and isolated, and a lot of people are working from home now from their computers, and what they're seeing is that that actually isn't as good. Your employees actually do a lot better together because we brainstorm, we talk to each other, we have intuition, we have hits, we work off of each other, and we build and we build and we build from this camaraderie. Then we have the factor that our society hasn't raised our children to understand that there's a respect for our elders. And the elderly are extremely lonely at the time that they actually have worked their whole life. And this is supposed to be the years of bliss, the years that they are now loved and supported, and their grandchildren come and they share their stories and their college stories, and they understand that when they come home, they go and they sit with their grandparents and they play cards at night. Do you remember all those things that we did with our grandparents? And now, who's visiting all those elderly people in nursing homes and senior care centers? Ministers are. And you know what's interesting is that it is extremely fulfilling for us. It's the most incredible thing to be with people and listen to their stories of wisdom and time. I learn more from them than any book, spiritual book, that's out there because they've had time. They've experienced the human condition. They've also witnessed the miraculous, and they want to tell you all about the best days of their lives. There's a growing body of evidence that suggests our brains actually function better when we are interacting with others and experiencing togetherness. Experiments have shown that simply holding someone else's hand lessens an individual's emotional response in the brain to a perceived threat. The effect was even greater if the person's hand you were holding was a spouse. Another oft-cited experiment found that individuals actually perceived a hill to be steeper if they were standing at the bottom alone compared with when they stood at the bottom with a friend. Do you see that? Doesn't that touch you? Like, for those of you that are feeling somewhat individualized and separate and apart and are wondering, how can I change it, though? What have I done to put myself in this position? Well, first of all, you're sitting here. Just the smartest thing you can do is to be in a spiritual community. But also, I reach out to you couples that are sitting here when we go into fellowship after the service, that you become all-inclusive to the people that you do see standing alone, because they want to be invited to the table. They want to be invited to the community. And that's really what we're here to do, is to be inviting everybody to be a part of this. All this other spiritual stuff really has no meaning if we're not here for one another. So I've been thinking about what are the practices that are, the things that they did in the past that brought us together. My mom, being raised in a Russian Orthodox family, every Sunday was about going to church. Methodist. But you have a Russian Orthodox family, though, don't you? No. They're Russian. Some of them are. She was Methodist. Anyway, her family has that side of it, too. Anywho, that's not the point. Obviously, I'm not listening to her stories close enough. I'm sure I will be schooled at lunch today. They would go to church, and then afterwards, she had her aunt that made a huge spread of food, and the entire family spent the entire day together, lounging, eating, and that was every single Sunday. There was no question of, oh, the kid has a basketball game, or somebody has volleyball, or somebody has a soccer game, because you know what? Back in that era, church and family was important. There were no soccer games. Sunday was a sacred day. There was no volleyball. Parents were not pulled away from having their spiritual community. It had an importance in our culture, right? And there's this wonderful ritual called Shabbos or Shabbat in Judaism, which is the most distinctive and characteristic practice, as well as one of its most pervasive and long-lasting gifts to Western civilization. It is a weekly 25-hour observance from just before sundown each Friday through the completion of nightfall on Saturday. Shabbat is more than just a day off from labor. It is a day of physical and spiritual delights that is meant to illuminate certain key concepts in the traditional Jewish perception of the world. Shabbat is portrayed in the Bible as the pinnacle of the creation of the universe, and its observance can be seen as a reminder of the purposefulness of the world and the role of human beings in it. Shabbat also serves as a memorial to God's act of rescuing the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. But in the celebration, it starts on Friday and at sundown. But they talk about that the preparation for this Friday evening is started around Wednesday because they get excited. It's important. It's a festive time. It's lighting candles, it's wine, it's eating, it's sharing, it's playing games, and now in it is turning your cell phones and your computers off and giving yourself 24 hours away from the technological world. So you're eating fat, you're drinking fat, you're with your family, the kids are playing with their cousins and all this, and you're also supposed to invite the people that don't have family so that they have that family on Friday night. And then the next day is about being in nature, getting outside, being with your children, playing games. And at first, maybe obviously our children would be thinking they're being tortured, right, with their phones and all the stuff that they're addicted to. But you know what they're going to remember when they grow up is what? That time. The time of being listened to, the time where mom and dad aren't so distracted on the phone and their computers and all the stuff that they have to do, that one day they know, a week, that they have you, and that you have them. And it's training, yes, everybody's going to be uncomfortable. Even I would be uncomfortable to turn off my cell phone on a Saturday. And I probably wouldn't really be able to do that full thing, but if I could just give 12 hours. Do you see where I'm going with this? There are so many spiritual traditions that you can look into, that you can bring into your life. It doesn't have to be religious. It's not about the dogma. It's about the spiritual time investment that you give to the things that are beautiful in life, and that is life. That is our human nature, our spiritual nature coming and dancing with one another and remembering what is truly important. So unplugging the computers, cell phones, and playing in nature. There's a book, Wild Mercy, that we're doing our book group with, and you can still join it. It meets the first and third Thursday of the month. It's a women's group. And we just started this last Thursday, and it's an incredible group, but you're still welcome to join it one more week. But in the book, it says it this way. We are endlessly forgetting and remembering our connection with God. In fact, we could look at all spiritual practices, all rituals and ceremonies and creative arts, as bells designed to wake us from the slumber of our separateness. I'll read this again. We are endlessly forgetting and remembering our connection with God. In fact, we could look at all spiritual practices, all rituals and ceremonies and creative arts, as bells designed to wake us from the slumber of our separateness. So, when you look at Hinduism and Buddhism, they have chanting. And chanting really resonates with my soul. I can go into quiet meditation, I can focus on the third eye and Mother Earth, but nothing makes me feel as connected to God is when I'm singing chants of prayer in another language that I have to look up and find out what the words mean, but I just feel so lifted, right? So when you go to equinox celebrations or solstice celebrations or all of the different, rituals, going to chanting, going to satsangs, all of these are tools to help you to come back to this universal connection with others. These celebrations and these ceremonies never happen in isolation. They come in community. It's about coming around the vibration of others. You have no idea how much you can lift another person just by being a consciously high person in the presence of someone that's having a hard time, and you can feel that healing energy from someone else. Right? Just sitting and singing and chanting with other people, you can leave, you can come in the darkest place and leave and be like, I'm flying right now. I know why I'm here all of a sudden. I feel something I can't explain. I just feel good. I feel relief from the fears and the stresses that we feel when we keep in our intellect of the limitations that we hold about ourselves and the separation and the feeling that we're alone, and when we're all here in this together. So, I'm discovering some interesting things. I'm having a lot of memories about my mom right now, and I think it's because I'm in a phase where I remember her really, really well in my mothering with my kids right now, right? So I've got a preteen and a 14-year-old, and I have also a 23-year-old daughter, and she was easy, so I feel like I've got a whole new realm of parenting going on in my house. I've got 2 against 1, too, which I didn't have with the first one. But they can collaborate to be in my busyness, to pull off whatever they want, and then I don't catch that they've pulled off what they wanted on their own agenda when I've said no like 7,000 times. And then I catch it and it's like, ooh, they got me. Ooh, those little stinkers, it's just, and it's just simple things that just chap me. It's like going to the sock drawer the socks match the outfit I'm gonna wear and they're gone, right? And it's like, okay, it was just that today. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go put my workout clothes. I'm about to go to dance class. And there is my daughter walking up in those brand new tights that I haven't even worn yet. It's all these little things that is just like, I know I did it to my mom. I know that she did it to her mom. It's just what you do, But you're frustrated. You make a sandwich, you leave it in the kitchen, the kids eat it because, of course, it's more delicious than the sandwich that you made for them. There's something about mom's everything that it's better than what you've gotten them. And it brought me back to this funny thought when I was a teenager, and my mom was so selfless and never got herself anything new. And finally, she met with some person that was selling this creme de la creme vacuum. Okay, this thing had chrome wheels. It was kind of like the Electrolux of and she finally gifts herself, a vacuum of all things. This is the big gift for herself. She had that vacuum for 24 hours. When my older brother, who was 16, decided to clean his car out with the vacuum, which is exactly it. You get yourself something nice and they're like, I'm gonna need to borrow that thing because that looks pretty cool, right? So he goes up in the driveway and he cleans out his car, and we hear a big crunch outside. Turns out he forgot that the vacuum was up there, and he backed his car out and rolled over the main piece of this vacuum. And all 4 chrome wheels are just broken, hanging off the side of this thing. And for the next 8 years, she's dragging this piece of crap around her house, having to vacuum, and it's paying a note of and I remember standing in the middle of the living room going, is anything mine? But I couldn't relate with it then, the way I can relate with it now, right? So we're endlessly forgetting and remembering our connection with God. It might be the silly stuff, it might be the big stuff. But it's finding how we can stay fine-tuned with our practice so that those little things don't bother us anymore. So Some of my suggestions would be Kundalini, devotional dancing like Nia that we have here, which we have 3 times a week, which I love and I don't miss those classes. You want to talk about dancing through your issues and then eventually dancing with God. Most powerful is for men and women, and that's Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 9. I would highly recommend yoga or Wednesday meditations, Monday meditations. We have so many things that you can connect with. We have relationship groups. We have divorce support groups. We have a little bit of everything in the center. You pretty much could come here every single day and be filled in your glass, which is community and time spent with one another. This world is filled with glorious, untidy multiplicity. This is from Wild Mercy. Sometimes God feels very far away. And so we long for God, not because we believe that God and self are ultimately existentially separate, but because here in the midst of our relative reality, our souls yearn to return to where we come from, which is absolute love. We yearn to return to what we actually are, which is absolute love. And there's no greater teacher than nature to show that to you. That's why I have this horse picture up here. I can sit and watch animals all day long, get out of the doing, and step into the being. What day is the being? Because so many people are doing. We're just living and doing. And we think we're going to attain something that's going to bring peace to us. You fill in the blank of what that would be and why you're doing all this doing. But ask yourself, where am I being with life? Where am I being with spirit? How many people in this room have a pet at their house? Let's see those arms high. Okay, so there's a lot of people that have to get some pets in this place. When people tell me that they literally think it's too much work and it's too much responsibility to get a pet, and yet you guys are the ones that are in the office all the time needing the extra counseling, I can't tell you what a cat or a dog would do for that heart of yours. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. I always talk to you about my Gilly, but I also have my Cozy and I have my George Beach. I got 3 dogs. And all 3 every day make my heart squishy. All 3 make me laugh every single day. Mike and I basically don't talk to each other. We talk through the dogs for fun, through songs, and we laugh. And the dogs all know when we tell their stories and how they came into our lives, and they listen like, what? How did I come into your life? And we sing those songs to them. It's that sweetness. It's that childlike wonder. It's that playfulness. It reminds us of this playfulness. It doesn't have to be this hard. Let 2020 be about healing that we see in the world, in the politics, for our planet. Do everything you can to heal and help this planet. Recognize what the animals are saying to you. Just watch how they nurture each other and watch yourself nurturing people around you the same way. Being open to receive that there's a family that wants to adopt you so that you no longer have to be alone, and you could be a part of Shabbat, or you could be part of Sunday lunch. See these things in your mind's eye. Even get grateful that it's already coming. And once we realize that it is already ours to be, it will be ours to be. There's a great poem that I used to have in my bedroom 25 years ago, and then a friend brought it back to me, and I was like, I forgot about that, and I love it. I'm just going to read a little piece of it, and it goes like this. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you, to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty every day. And if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes! It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what's needed for our children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be there. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. And that is by Uriah Mountain Dreamer. You can look that up online. So I'm going to have the choir come up and sing a prayer just to close the service, because this is the song that I listen to probably 10 times a day. Whenever I'm writing my sermon, whenever I'm feeling disconnected, this song is, although the lyrics are very Christian, for me it's just the melody. It's the melodic energy of it that just moves in and through. So just close your eyes and let this melody come into your heart.
Hallelujah.
we will take an offering for unity, and I'll invite Chad out here, and then we're going to invite Talia out here to perform some amazing music again.
I'm not Shad, but I'm out here to help take this offering. We just experienced the most beautiful service, reaching to our hearts to help us, just be a little more awake to the opportunities we have to be more in human relationship with one another. It's so important to do that, especially at these times. Let us remember that and feel the gratitude for this reminder that we get every Sunday here at Unity. So as we take our offerings in our hands, let's bless them with this offering statement. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny. Therefore, I give. Together, please. Divine love is my true life and my conscious destiny. Therefore, I give. And we have the opportunity to listen to Talia, unique singing artist, share her beautiful voice with us right now.
Well, everybody's got a story to tell, and everybody's got a wound to be healed. I wanna believe there's meaning here, 'cause though I get so tired of holding on, I can't let go and I can't move on. I wanna believe there's beauty here. How many times have you heard me cry out, God, please take this? How many times have you given me strength to just keep breathing? Oh, I need you, God, I need you now. Standing on a road I didn't plan, and I'm wondering how I got to where I am. I'm trying to hear that still small voice. I'm trying to hear above the noise. How many times have you heard me cry out, God, please take this? How many times have you given me strength to just keep breathing? Oh, I need you, God, I need you now. And though I walk through the shadows, I am not afraid. Please stay right inside me with every single step I take. How many times have you heard me cry out? And how many times have you given me strength? And how many